Hi, everybody. I'm Stephen Medina. And before I start my analogy speech, I want to put a scenario in your head to help paint a picture in your mind. You're walking through a hot African desert when all of a sudden you hear scuffling. Through that scuffling, you hear growling, hissing, and all natures of sound. You walk around a brush to discover the source of this sound. You see the dirt being kicked up and what looks like a giant skunk. It might be a skunk because it has the characteristic white stripe across its back, the black lower body, and long claws on both the feet and hands of the animal. You see it's got some pearly white canines and it's got something in its mouth. But once the dirt settles, you realize that it has a king cobra in its mouth. Now, I think it's safe to assume that skunks don't typically go after king cobras for dinner. It's a little too dangerous. But it turns out, in fact, that this creature is not a skunk at all. It's actually a honey badger. I see myself as a honey badger, and there are many reasons as to why I think I embody similarities to a honey badger, but I'll just go ahead and give you three. The first reason I think that I'm like a honey badger is that with the honey badger, there's always more than meets the eye. You see a grizzled old cranky animal at the surface, but beneath all that tough skin and fur, there's much more to be realized in a honey badger. The second thing is, they're not very big creatures, but they are perhaps one of nature's most fierce and tenacious animals, known for standing their ground against prey. And number three, more often than not, you'll see a honey badger walking by itself, hunting by itself, and we've generally associated honey badgers as being solitary creatures, but there's more to that as well, and I'll be more than happy to break down those 3 points. Starting off with that first point, as a United States Marine Corps combat veteran, I often feel that I am misclassified, much like the honey badger. In fact, the honey badger, that's not the actual name of the creature. It's known as a rentel or Mellivora capensis. Mellivora capensis. Now we all see the memes, honey badger don't care, and that's a name that was given to this animal long before, but Mellivora capensis doesn't strike the same as honey badger. Not only that, but this, what we know as a honey badger, it's actually closer to a wolverine than it is a badger. So we often see it and think that it is a honey badger, or related to the badger family, when it's more closely related to the wolverines. Seeing that surface of the honey badger, we tell ourselves that that's what it is, and our bias kind of keeps it there. But in fact, it's something else entirely. Throughout my life, I have experienced some negative stereotyping due to my status as a veteran. It usually takes the form of questions that are, oh, well, how many kids do you have that you don't know about? And, oh, are you on your second or third divorce? And how much alcohol do you drink on a daily basis? Usually gratuitous amounts is the inferred amount from the question. But none of those are true for me. I've never been married, I don't have any kids, and I don't drink. So usually that stereotype falls down, but there's more to me than meets the eye. Secondly, I admire greatly the honey badger's tenacity, his fearlessness, and his ability to survive in the wild, especially in a ecosystem as dangerous and diverse as the African desert. Now, that's not the only place. They are also from some sub-Asian areas, but in all of those ecosystems, the honey badger has a lot to worry about. Predators ranging from cheetahs, leopards, lions, coyotes, jackals, etc., etc. And one important thing to remember about the honey badgers, they don't grow to be very big. They usually grow maybe between like 3 and 5 feet. So it's not a big creature, and it's very low to the ground. So it's not a very imposing creature. But as you can tell, the honey badger, this is him standing off a lion, he's very small, and even though he is smaller than the lion, and the lion is much more intimidating, the honey badger always stands its ground, and it's always ferocious when it comes to fighting back. Now, in regards to that, I see myself as a honey badger because I am not a very big person. I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm not a 5-time black belt jiu-jitsu champion or mixed martial artist. But I do like to think that I'm very mean and nasty when it comes to pugilism. The need that I resort to that. I would do anything to survive, regardless of my foe. I think I am fearless in that aspect. Another kind of laughable note of survivability with the honey badger is that, especially with lions, is when you've seen this the most. In order to survive a lion attack, they do anything they can possible. And when the lion attacks the honey badger, typically it rolls down so that the tough skin on the top can absorb the bite from the lion. And from there, the honey badger then it proceeds to attack the lion's genitalia, thus forcing the big cat into retreat. Now, I'm not saying that's something I do, but I'm just comparing my survivability to that of a honey badger. And the third and last point that I think probably hits home the most for me about the honey badger is that most people, they see the honey badger as a solitary creature. Usually it's walking and hunting on its own, but often, in rare occasions, you'll see a honey badger hunting in a pair, and usually that's the honey badger's partner. Although the honey badger enjoys a solitude, it hunts with its partner, and often it's a team effort to bring back a larger volume of food to the den, because that means they have either one or two cubs in the den back with them. And that team effort just shows a coordination of care between the two. Other times you can see the mother honey badger, she'll carry her cub with her. If the cub is still an infant, meaning the eyes are still closed and they're still small, the mother will carry the cub with her. And that is that she feels that if she leaves a cub back in the den, it's a little dangerous, because then predators could find the cub by itself and it will be unable to defend itself. So usually the mother honey badger will carry the cub in her mouth, only putting it down when there's prey in reach or other food sources to feed the little one. So to summarize everything, I think there's more to me than meets the eye. I believe that I'm a fierce and tenacious warrior. And although I like my solitude, I have my solitude, but I will spend time with my friends. And I could probably count on one hand the group of friends that I regularly maintain contact with. We'll go to a movie or spend time together. So, considering myself, my own attributes to these attributes of the honey badger, that's why I firmly believe that I am a honey badger. Thank you.